Up next, we have Gwen on the line from Phoenix. Gwen, you are live.
Hi. Only woman calling in. Nice.
Thank you.
I feel like we were married when he joined, after he came back from Vietnam, and so he was in the same time as John, and was actually near the DMZ with all the Agent Orange. And throughout the years, he's come across different problems that we didn't associate with Agent Orange, and probably was, but he did end up with Hodgkin's at the last of like 97, 98, and had to go through chemo for that. And then the result of that, a side effect, like other side effects people have had from having cancer, has been lingering since then. So he's really been totally disabled since then. But the point I wanted to make is they told us when he had Hodgkin's in the late 90s that apply for anything medical that he's had, that even though they're saying today it's not going to be covered, but put it on the record that you are filing a claim, let them deny it, and then later on down the road they might get more evidence that that illness is something that is definitely associated with Agent Orange. And for him, it was coronary artery disease. He'd already had open heart surgery, in his early 40s. And so in 2010, out of the blue, we get a letter from the VA telling us that there was a court case, I guess it was in the 80s, that said that if you have already filed on a disease and been denied it, that the VA has to open that case. And so they were contacting all the veterans that had already applied, their claim was already submitted, and they needed to talk to them about that claim to see if they would qualify for back benefits. So in the meantime, he'd had multiple stents, and 2006 he had to have another open surgery, and in 2007 he had to have a pacemaker put in, and he's all kinds of medicines and such. And one of the things that he was doing to keep healthy before he got Hodgkin's was walking 4 or 5 miles a day, and after Hodgkin's then he couldn't walk, so that made his health deteriorate from that. But the problem we're having right now, and I think other people may have this, and maybe I can give them a hint on just what you need to do in order to deal with them. When they called us into the VA for an exam, we went down there and they told us to bring all of his records related to coronary artery disease. So we did. And I mean, this is like 7 inches thick. And brought all that in to the appointment, saw this doctor. You can see where he has the pacemaker on his chest. It's very clear. And she noted that he had a pacemaker. But when she took the records out to the clerk, and I saw her hand them to her, and we cleared out whatever the appointment stuff had to be, and they were supposed to get those records into their system, they disappeared somehow. So when 6 months later, when they send us their decision, and then along the way, I was calling and emailing to verify that they had received those records, and they told me in email that they had received all the medical records supporting this. So he is denied any very light back pay. So they rated it really low, the very lowest of coronary artery disease, and then starting on the 10th, then they gave him 100%. 2010, when they notified us. Mm-hmm. But he had back benefits coming to him. So we contested it because the first letter said you need to provide us with the records as soon as we see those. So that we do that, and of course every time it's at least 6 months, and now we haven't heard from them in over a year and a half.
Right.
But so number one, you never bring your records into the VA personally. And number two, when you do mail them in, you make sure you have copies of everything, and you send it certified mail, so somebody there has to sign it, so that you can then send that in to them, even though they say they denied it. And so, all of the new shots of all of the files stacked on the floor, someplace, it's like, this is the electronic age. So when they're talking about spending money that doesn't go on the budget because it's the Pentagon's money or whoever's money, they need to put some money into electronic. They have done a good job, but they need to start working on it more money there. And then there's no excuse for them to be delaying all these people. I mean, it breaks our heart when we see these guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and concussions, and anyway. So we really do appreciate this call, and we really do appreciate your supporting these VA issues. Harry Mitchell did a great job for us, and we really appreciate that you were able to help us out as well.
Well, Gwen, thank you so much. And I want to say, again, thank you for sharing the story of your family. And I think that your story is very instructive. So a couple of things that I think we can all take away as best practices is, number one, apply for anything. I think that was great. That was great advice, that if a vet comes home and has any kind of ailment or illness or anything that is different than what he or she experienced prior to military service, all of that should be in an application, because we are continually fighting as members of Congress and advocates in the community to ensure that the federal government is recognizing illnesses that may not already be diagnosed or already recognized by the VA. So that's a great piece of advice. Number two, having photocopies of your own of every document you send in to the VA is absolutely critical. And number three, certified mail is incredibly important. So I really want to point out those three pieces of advice were really helpful, not just for us in our office, and we'll use those same points of advice as we work with veterans in our casework office, but also everyone who's on the call tonight. The VA system is run by individuals, and individuals are prone to error, and some more so than others. But the bottom line is that someone else's mistake should not be your problem, that they should be held accountable and responsible for mistakes if they make a mistake, and that the veteran and his or her family should not be the ones who pay, but with a backlog or having to re-provide documents over and over. And taking those kinds of precautions, making copies and certifying your mail, will put the onus of accountability back on the agency, which is where it rests. My last thought about what you said, Gwen, and I'm just so grateful again for you sharing this story, is I really feel that while the VA is struggling because it's not well enough funded and we have higher rates of need, and I understand all of those issues, but I really firmly believe that there is no excuse for a failure to serve a vet in our country, and that if the VA and its staff has to work harder, has to work smarter, have to find new ways to solve problems, that it's their job and their responsibility to do that with the resources they have. And I'll fight to make sure they get more resources in the future. But in the meantime, it's their duty, it's their professional duty to make sure that vets get the services they deserve. And we're going to continue to fight for that accountability. So thank you so much.